Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining. Today's date is June 18th, 2023. This is our admin meeting. So to start with everyone, we will briefly go through our agenda and then open it up to open the floor to open discussion. So again, welcome. I thank you all. I can't thank you enough for coming today. A brief overview of our meeting objectives and agenda. So we'll briefly go over our previous meeting minutes, our focus group updates and announcements, a brief discussion on topics as needed, reports and progress updates, future planning and agenda setting, open forum, and then we'll wrap up. So to start off, previous meeting minutes. In the last meeting, Jamal and I discussed that we have filed our 1023 EZ form. And we have a website being built by the free website guys. I recently purchased a template from Divi, very cool environmental nonprofit template. It's quite exciting. It has lots of different sections for all our initiatives and campaigns and everything. So I really look forward to getting that set up. Another thing we discussed is it was brought up to me that it would be kind of fun to create at some point engaging developmental short videos, which kind of leave the brain, be it for children or adults, like Liraz likes to say, prepped and primed for learning. So that's another thing. We'll go over that briefly in a moment. Focus group updates and announcements. So Dr. Liraz last week did a wonderful dynamic presentation, a journey through the child's brain in our developmental neuroscience / psychology focus group meeting. I've posted the link to that in our chats. We have an ongoing chat in this that will remain indefinitely. I sent you guys an email. If you'd like to join it via your email, you can join in the chat and you can see the link to her Brain Boost meeting. Additionally, we will be having 4 focus group meetings per month. So our last one was developmental neuro, which is focus group number 1. Next week will be focus group number 2, mindfulness, fitness, well-being. And then the following week will be childhood education curriculum and then nutrition. So I have some exciting news on that. We have presenters lined up to do brief presentations at all of our focus group meetings. For instance, Jen Quirk, she does nutrition and gut health through targeting the vagus nerve. So she's going to do a presentation at our upcoming nutrition meeting on July 5th. She will be speaking to us about gut health and how important it is and how it's achieved through nutrition and how the use of activating the vagus nerve can improve your gut health and your overall health. And the vagus nerve is what's activated through mindfulness or meditation. So I find that enthralling. Additionally, Jen is inviting Anita Nall to come and speak at the focus group meeting. And during her presentation, I believe, and she is a nutrition expert for child athletes, and she's also a former Olympian. So I think that's super cool. I look forward to that presentation. We have one of our members, Kira. She was at our Brain Boost presentation. I've asked her if she would do a brief presentation at our mindfulness, fitness, well-being focus group meeting because she attends a mystery school and they practice mindfulness, and it's all very exciting. So, and also PJ, he's an administrator. Oh, here's Giselle. Oh wait, no, that's Jamal, excuse me. He's an administrator from New York, and he's big into social emotional learning as well as outdoor education. So that's all we have for our focus group updates and announcements. Discussion topics. Like I said, our new website template includes campaigns. And I asked Jamal if he thought that Dr. Liraz's parental incentive program could potentially be a campaign, and he said definitely. So I look forward to getting that set up, if that's all right with you, Lemore. Additionally, Liraz, your Brain Boost short, that was just phenomenal, and I can't thank you enough. I had discussed with Jamal about the possibility of putting that on our website, and he said that would be too long, but he suggested the possibility of using AI to help us create a short video, or perhaps hire someone to do it, to make that into, like, have like graphics pop up and words and whatnot, and like, let's say lightning bolts or pictures of a break. I'm not sure. He suggested perhaps like a highlight reel, a fun, engaging highlight reel for that. Again, with the engaging, developmentally appropriate brain priming shorts, I shared with Liraz a short where they do exercises. For instance, they sit with their hands on the table and they do this, they do this. This one's really confusing. Like, I've got it now, but I guess it just makes connections between the neurons in your brain. Here's another, or I'm not, Limor could tell us more about that, but here's another one they introduced. It's like this, and it allows the right and left side of your brain to interact, and it's quite challenging. It's quite fun as well. So anyway, just to try to compile all the knowledge that exists within those and inform it further and make it very engaging and appealing. So that's an idea that was suggested to me by a member of our board, Derek Silcox. He's the mayor of a small town near me, Leeton, Alabama, and they've recently implemented extensive outdoor education programs into their local school systems, which is very exciting. All right, moving on. So that's the discussion topics. Reports and progress updates. We had discussed, Liraz, about Dr. Stephanie Jones, I believe her name is, from Harvard, the professor of child development and education. I've managed to compile an email and get it sent to her. I sent it yesterday evening. So I look forward to hopefully hearing back from her. Liraz had suggested asking her if she would like to be involved, or incorporating her in our initiatives, and I think that would just be wonderful. Another progress update is we have submitted our New Mexico proposal, still eagerly awaiting a response. Liraz, I would like to touch on the possibility of adding something to the extent of what you said in our Brain Boost presentation about music, how music and overarching curriculum could fit in and really help children learn. Additionally, a member of our Brain Boost presentation, Ben Wilson, he's out of New Zealand. He took a look at our proposal and he was enthralled by it. He made a few suggestions. I will gladly share that with the group if you guys would like to see it. It's got some very good points that, because we can revise our proposal, and if we don't hear back from New Mexico, like his suggestion is, have you contacted other states additionally? He's like, it's just an email. He's like, why don't you contact Washington? So we will quickly adapt that proposal if necessary to target a different audience, if you would. So I guess that's all we have on progress reports and that. Future planning and agenda setting. So we recently involved 3R educational solutions into evolving in education. 3R educational solutions focusing on educational and personal development for educators. I haven't got it down exactly, but she does teacher training and implementation into schools. She also does social emotional learning, and they do sound healing, yoga, etc. And she's joined our focus groups. She also, informs that through neuroscience. She has some neuroscience training, I believe. So I really look forward to incorporating all of this and collaborating on our project. Additionally, and so that 3R will hopefully end up on our partnerships section, or partners/sponsor section of our website. Additionally, Caboodle Innovations, they are a learning accelerator based out of India. They've created a program which bridges the gap between teaching and learning, and it provides like teacher training and student support, etc. They have sort of a gamified model for the after school setting, but they're on board. They want to help in any way they can, and they've told us we could use their program. So Giselle and I had a meeting with Caboodle the other night, and we talked about, tweaking their curriculum we're informing it through evolving in education, but they already have put in a lot of legwork for their system, and They're going to give us a username and password so we can give it a try, their program. And they recently shifted their focus to the early development, or the early years. So they haven't got their curriculum developed, but they have quite the panel that develops their curriculum. And we're going to have a meeting with the panel of Caboodle soon to discuss. Additionally, future planning. Our website includes a prompt for becoming a member, additionally volunteering. So I'm looking into how we have that Google form, so I don't know if that will be how we do it, but anyway, we will have sections for both becoming a member and volunteering. Additionally, I'm setting up our bank account soon because we have all the paperwork we need to set up Evolving in Education's bank account. I'm going to a local credit union initially. We'll probably branch out soon. And as soon as we get the approval letter back from the IRS for our 501c3 nonprofit status, because all of it's been filed and it's just a matter of getting that back in the mail, we will apply for our first grant or grants. I have hired a grant writer, and additionally, someone who joined Evolving in Education recently. I sometimes check out the people who joined to see who we have on our team, and his Facebook said he's a fundraising coordinator for several nonprofits. So I asked him I told him what our story was, and asked would he ever be interested in helping us, and he said he would. He's already writing grants for 2 nonprofits. He said he doesn't know how much time he has, but I'm meeting with him tomorrow. So I'm excited about that. So it's looking like we'll hopefully have some funding soon, guys. And once we have funding, I would love to print out some Evolving in Education stickers. We'll also have to have our website first, because I would like one of those little QR scanning things to go on the sticker. And I want to print out 400, actually more than 400 now, because we just topped 400 members, but I want to print out enough to send each Evolving in Education member, if they're interested, a EiE sticker. And soon we'll hopefully have posters up with the QR as well, so we can be reaching out within communities and involving people, sort of letting them know our mission. There's a section in our template that we purchased for our web page called Multiplying Impact. It's a section where you can donate, because there's lots of sections with the donate button on this page. I guess that's standard procedure for nonprofits. But there's one section where it says, for every $1 you contribute, Monarch will match $1. So I'm eager to find a company, to find someone to sponsor us in that way. My friend, I told her about starting the nonprofit, and she said, I'll donate to you. And I said, that'd be amazing. And she works for AIG, an insurance company. She said, if I give you 25, AIG will give you 50. I was like, oh my gosh, can you get your employees to, I mean, imagine the potential to go within businesses and have them double it. That would just be phenomenal. Additionally, we recently signed up for Springly. It's a customer resource management system for nonprofits. And I know we don't have customers, but Jamal pointed out to me that like the customers are the people we serve. So, the people who attend the meetings, it's not a paid thing, but
the newer concept in customers is that we're all customers, guys. We're all customers, and we should all be privy to an excellent experience. Did she freeze? Hi, everybody. There she is.
Oh no, can you guys hear me? I'm sorry about that.
Yes, we can hear you.
So I'm almost through it. I got 2 more brief things. Giselle had spoke about community engagement. So I'd like for us to also make that one of our campaigns or initiatives in the future. Agenda items or action items is to focus more on community engagement. Lastly, I'm not sure if you guys saw within our Facebook group, we had a request. A member made a request to create a chat, and it's Deborah, I can't remember her last name, but she helps children whose parents are transitioning. She helps them go through the transition, understanding it. She proposed a chat, and I didn't approve it because, I never wanted this to be political, and I want it to help everyone. So I want to figure out how to incorporate this, but to do it with some context and to approach it lightly, because I know that's a very sore subject. Like I said, we want to help everyone regardless of their any personal differences. But her chat, she proposed, it was called When My Daddy Becomes My Mommy. And I just think that could trigger people. I'd like to, if we ever do pursue, that division in evolving education, which may be on the table, I'm not sure. I'm hoping for y'all's input on that. Like I said, it would have to be approached very politically correct. So now we will just open it up to open discussion. That's all I had. If anyone would like to give some feedback.
I just want to say thank you for all this work. I feel like I haven't done anything so far, so I would really like to help in a way, like more practically. Before I forget, I just had an idea about the logo because I saw Jamal's pictures on Telegram, and let me see if I can send you the file on the chat.
And I want to say you have done lots, Ilya. Your support from the very beginning has been crucial to our success. I hope you don't feel you haven't contributed, because you certainly have.
I mean, compared to what you've done. I don't know, have you received the picture on the chat?
Yes, I just saw it.
Yeah. So it's not exactly what I was thinking about. I was thinking about something more minimal. But the idea of this, actually, my dad created this. He's a biologist in Greece. So the idea of this is it represents like revolution and evolution together. So this is a cell, and there is a part of a cell that, like, due to evolution factors, it differs from the other parts, and so it's disattached. So its survival will depend on how strong are the evolved mechanisms, and according to the natural selection theory of Darwin, if they are strong enough, a revolution will occur, and then it will survive with the new skills. So I don't know, I just wanted to propose that. I just found it a bit relevant to our project.
Yes, that's fascinating. I had told Jamal I would also love to figure out the world in a sense. So I think we should look at incorporating as many relevant aspects in it, and even if we have to hire someone to put it all together in a very appealing logo. But I love what you're saying with the cells and the evolution.
Yeah, I find it really interesting. He designed it, my dad designed it about an exhibition they did, an art exhibition they did in his lab some years ago. But yeah, I still find it fascinating.
That is. Really quick, I just remembered Limor, sorry. I don't know what you'd rather.
Oh, you can call me Limor. Limor is my real name. I explained it earlier to Amber. Limor is my real name. Dr. Liraz is my pen name. That's how I write my blog.
Like Dr. Seuss.
Oh yeah, like Dr. Seuss, exactly.
That's pretty cool.
So you can call me Limor.
So that flyer you designed for your Brain Boost, was that, I would just absolutely adore if we could have flyers for each, maybe not each individual meeting, but do you have any input on how hard it would be to do like a nutrition flyer?
Oh, so easy. For Jamal, he would know what I'm referring to. I was using Canva. Canva, I told you, so I pay for a membership there, but Canva is beautiful. It's like PowerPoint taken to the next level, right? You can create anything, and these images are a part of it. You could use any image you want. You can overlay. You're overlaying writing, styles, and colors, and anything you want. So that's how I created this flyer in a matter of minutes.
Wow. Would you be interested in creating any more flyers and perhaps looking into
so what I do with Canva is so first of all, let me back up and say thank you, Ilya, for being here. I really wanted her to be here because I feel that she has a big part of this group, because you're coming from an education perspective, and some of us don't have that. So I would love to hear her talk today more than any of us, and kind of share a little bit of what she's thinking should be some of the next steps as an educator. And I do love what she shared with her father's drawing. That's beautiful, and I think we could definitely use that. Yes. So that's why I'm so happy you were able to make it today. But in terms of creating flyers for meetings, yes, that's super easy. We can discuss it offline, meaning not at this meeting, but you and I can discuss it. Yeah, you can get on board with a certain program and do it very easily. But what I wanted to say is I use this program to create, so just like what Ilya's dad is doing, you have an idea in biology, right? And you want to explain it in a simplified way. So you create these diagrams and schematics, and I love doing that. It has a huge creativity side. And that's how you present it so you tailor it towards your audience. If it's evolving in education members, it's one way. And then if I'm going to go teach a course for early childhood educators, then I'm going to create different diagrams for that.
That's very cool. But I too am eager to hear Ilya's thoughts on best next steps and have her here with us today.
Thank you both. I don't know, the truth is that, especially when Amber was talking just a minute ago about these exercises, it reminded me, I met with an occupational therapist last week in my school, and she was actually presenting in my class some kinds of like coordination exercises to the kids. And I felt that it helped them so much. And I have two autistic boys in my classroom that are very clumsy, and they did really well. I just, I come across, and now I've got a PhD position, and it's like very fascinating and exciting, the new project. But I just find out that with all these new ideas, it's just so difficult to implement them in a class with 30 children. And I know that there are so many new ideas, new projects that are informed of science and education and psychology and stuff, but I don't know, I just find it so hard. I would love to have somebody to tell me like how should classrooms be formed in a different way, or how do you do it when you're in a state school with 30 children in each class? So I can come up with many ideas. I have seen things during my work experience that I can definitely say that they are not working, and I have tried new ways, and I have seen different educational methods that work better. I just don't know how to implement them in a big classroom, especially when it comes to science-informed practices. So I think this is a part that we would have to stress somehow.
Yes, my thought was always like really fun. Like, let's say get Disney involved in, or a Pixar, so the experts, and make really wonderful, engaging videos. I don't know if that'd be an option. I don't know if the children will be able to even follow along, like with the hand movements. And like I said, I'm no educator, so More, do you have any thoughts on best ways to implement?
I like what Ilya said. I would, so Ilya, would it be possible, because you do have all this experience that none of us have. I never taught a classroom of children in this way, in the way that you're doing. So you said that you have seen over the years some ideas really work and some ideas do not. Could you take a few minutes and just create just a document, just write it down, let's say top 5 or top 10 things that you saw in a classroom that absolutely work, that you say, okay, if we give this to a teacher, she can absolutely do it, and better than all other curriculums that you've seen out there.
Yeah, definitely, I can try.
Yeah, that would be wonderful, because then we can take that list, Amber, and everyone else, we could take that list and think about, okay, how can we add on to it or build upon that if we are trying to add to the existing curriculum. This comes from a teacher, someone who has been in the classroom on the battlefield, basically. So I would like to see that happen. And in terms of how do we, so your concern, Ilya, what do we do for teachers, or how do we take what we're talking about and making it a reality? I think Amber mentioned this a while back. One of the ideas of evolving in education is, this is a part of the plan, and it was written in the New Mexico proposal, we're going to have to do teacher training, right? We're going to have to figure out, okay, what are the innovations that we're bringing to the table, and then take the teachers and create a nice workshop for them so that they can learn how we do it. Would that work?
I don't know, to be honest with you, because, I've got some lovely teachers in my school that attend, they are very up to date with new methods and stuff, and they attend workshops, they attend conferences. So they are really involved, and they know everything about, everything. And in UK, like the Department of Education is really up to date with all the educational psychology and developmental education, all the intersection of these disciplines. But I don't know, when it comes to reality, it's just really different. Like I find myself sometimes, you know, I have to fill out some paperwork every week. So I find myself telling them off all the time, just sit still and don't speak or whatever. And I'm like, why? Why should they stay still? But I couldn't do my work otherwise. So I don't know how to balance this sometimes.
Do you have a teacher aide, assistant?
Yeah, we are like 4 adults in the class.
Oh, huh.
Yeah.
There's 4 assistants in the class, you said?
No, there is one teacher, one teaching assistant, and the 2 one-to-ones, we call them. So it's for SEN children. They have one-to-one support all day at school. So that makes 4 adults in the classroom.
Oh, so one thought I have to bring up is multi-age classrooms. Like, is that another?
Like Montessori.
Yeah, in Montessori. And I feel that would, like, for instance, with the exercises the woman was doing, you know, the older students could learn it from a video and then go and help the younger students. It's just a thought. I think multi-age, Catherine, sorry, go
I
ahead.
don't know what many people say about these mixed age classrooms is that normally the younger ones benefit from the older ones, but most of the teachers and parents, they don't see the benefits for the older children being in a mixed age classroom. They feel that they stay stable in the same level for the whole year, so they don't prefer it.
Yes, I wonder if
And
there's a way
another-
to benefit the older students. Go ahead, Jamal, excuse me.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there are others that are trying to solve this particular problem for you. Is it something where your class is having that issue, or is this school wide? Is this district wide? Is the entire country going through this, trying to figure out how to get kids to calm down thing?
No, it's not about. I think I didn't get it the right way. I don't think that it's about getting the children to calm down. I mean, I have a very well behaved class. It's just these are just moments of a day in a classroom where everybody has them. But I mean that at the end they impact the learning and the environment and the atmosphere of the classroom and your mood and the children's attention and everything. When you have, you know, you have individuals who have different needs and you have to teach the same thing. You can have some differentiated activities, but you are in the middle. 30 pairs of ears are just listening to you, whatever you say, and then they just have to carry out an activity. So even if you have the best intentions, there are so many different characters in the classroom. I don't know how you can address all the needs when you present.
How possible is it to implement autonomy when you're giving a task, allowing the ownership to be on the students themselves to develop their own manipulation of your teaching such that they're team oriented amongst themselves and creating exercises based upon what you're providing them, so that if you're telling them to be quiet, they have something that they're supposed to be doing that they're generating. Does that make sense?
Kind of. But I think it really depends on the activity, on the lesson, on the motivation. But I always, not just me, I think every teacher tries to provide like differentiated according to the levels of the students. Like I have some children that are very low academically in my classroom and some children that are very high. So even if I teach, for example, I don't know, the oceans, and then they have to carry out an activity, I will have something very like more, maybe more sensory and more interactive about the low level students, and something more highly academic like writing and reading for the high ones, which is doable. I just don't know how much the students, what they are getting from, you know, when because I have to mark at the end of the day that I carried out this activity, but I don't know how much they are getting out of this when you have so many different levels in the classroom and you just have to tick a box saying that you're done with it.
What ages are your kids?
6 to 7.
So this is first grade,
That's year 2 in England. I
second
don't
grade,
know.
maybe.
No, it's year 2 primary school. Yeah.
Oh, okay, second grade.
I always thought that uh, educational cartoons could benefit teachers. I know we don't want kids just to veg out on cartoons, but let's say when the teacher needs to do work and the kids need to be entertained and learning, I don't know any kids that don't like to watch a short, cool, fun, let's say Disney or Pixar helped us make it, inform it with
Definitely.
science. Because my kids watch cartoons and I'm like, that is stupid. Like, I don't see why they don't make all cartoons educational.
Yeah, that would be lovely. It would save a lot
Would
of
that be
time
an
as
idea,
well.
do you think? Do you think that that would be accepted, to be implemented in the classrooms? Brief, highly developmentally
That would be a
appropriate?
lot of screen time in a class that we are trying to reduce, because we already have enough, like we have interactive boards and we do watch a lot of like videos and stuff on the screen. So I don't know, unless it was something, very short.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, brief, and then they could do an activity based on what they just watched. And let's say the more developmentally progressed children could, let's say, potentially be involved with the less to help them along. I don't know if that would be an idea at all. I don't know what kind of
I think
activity would be.
it would be motivating, but again, in real life, for example, I was teaching the anatomy of a bee the other day, and it was so nice and lovely. We watched some cartoon videos on the screen, and then they completed these beautiful sheets, and then we went out to the garden, and obviously it's spring, so we saw like hundreds of bees, and they were all screaming and shouting and running away, and it was like, oh my goodness, I spent like 1 hour in the classroom talking about bees, and everybody was like, oh, they're so lovely and stuff. And then we went out and they were behaving like they were aliens. And I'm like, that's not the point of it. I would rather be outside in the garden watching the bees and saying, just by observation, this is that, that's what they do with the nectar, with the pollen. I don't know, where is the balance?
Sorry, guys. I know that this is a topic that we wouldn't be able to solve immediately, right? Like, let's give it another 10 minutes and let's solve the problem. I don't think that will happen. But I wanted to encourage you to really look towards personally what influences you to just be as awesome as you are. I mean, just the fact that you care enough to ask the question in this meeting means that you're there for a purpose, and reminding yourself of that, how you can develop yourself because you're leading them. Ultimately, I didn't realize we were talking about primary kids. They're going to follow your lead, whatever you do. So as difficult as it is, reminding yourself that you're on that path to find that better place and keeping that faith to know that, you're going to get there. It may not look like it all the time, that you're making steps and strides to get a better benefit for the class. It's not like you always know that you're on that path all the time, but know that you are. Know that you're working on that. And even if it doesn't seem like you're making a difference, oh my gosh, just you being there makes a difference to these little ones. And reminding yourself of that and how you can maintain that self motivation, that self push. I feel like that's such an easy thing to fleet, but you need that. You have to have that inner motivation.
May I add
Thank you,
something?
Jamal.
Yes, I would like to add something. Let me ask you, Ilya, in your curriculum, my question is, do you have time? I'm sure the kids have recess to run and to be active, but in America, I know that we have teachers use the expression getting the wiggles out, which means pause in the lesson, get the kids, even if it's just in place, get them to stretch, get them to do a little bit of yoga, a little bit of jumping jacks, whatever works, and then resume the lesson plan. That way they can really focus and pay attention better. And I myself have a 6.5-year-old, so I know sometimes we have to stop and get the energy out before we can actually do any kind of learning. So is that something that you do?
Yeah, it's part of the curriculum anyway. So this is what the Department of Education suggests, but most of the teachers in my school, they implement that. We do like movement breaks, we do mindfulness breaks, we do like little, you know, the just dance videos that they have to copy, like
Okay.
moves and exercises and stuff. We do yoga in the class, or we go like for a quick run outside when I feel that it's like too much inside. So yeah, it's always better after a break like this. But yeah, I don't know. I'm speaking about these things because I've been researching and I did my master in education and neuroscience, and I've been reading about all these updates with the brain imaging and all these interesting things. And then I just go back to reality and I'm like, why it's not happening? Like there is something, an obstacle, and I cannot identify what
But this was my
at all.
follow-up comment. If I may just say one more thing to you, Elia. I do think, like Jamal, I think you're doing a wonderful job, whether you realize it or not. You are the role model in the classroom. But I will say this: this is a tricky age group. This is not some high schoolers who can sit still at their desk and learn uninterrupted for 6 to 8 hours a day.
But I don't want
But
them to stay still. That's the point. I don't want to be in a classroom and just tell them what to do and how it should be done. I want to come a bit more naturally to like base my lesson on their questions and to what they want to learn, where they want to focus, if they want to do a project on something, or I don't want them to stay still and listen to me like I'm an expert or something.
But then this is called, I think there's a name for it, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's called experiential learning, when you observe and you go and it's all hands-on in nature,
Yeah,
in the world, and then you don't have this issue of, oh, they can't sit and be quiet, because you know what? Just from a science perspective, a 6 to 7 year old, you will never get them to just sit still and listen.
yeah.
They are so curious, they want to move and they want to explore in the world. And that was Piaget's philosophy, that children are natural explorers and they're going to go and test everything. And this is where this curriculum comes in. So maybe it's a curriculum issue.
But you know, after a while, they get used to it and they do stay still and they do listen, which is also sad to see. I mean, they just lose all their curiosity and stuff. And what you say about the experimental learning, for example, it's been happening, but it's normally part of like private schools, or it's not something that is like part of the curriculum or in state schools and stuff. Yeah, it is happening, but in very specific places. Because I feel that there is nobody yet knows the way of how to do that in a state school where you have 300 children from 9 o'clock in the morning to 3, and you have to do so many things. And
Classroom management, is that it? Or is it the lack of having enough educator or teachers? Or he said just so many children? Um, I would like to just see us, whatever way possible, level the playing field. Like you said, the experiential learning happens, but it happens in private schools and Montessori. I know there are like 500 public Montessori schools in the United States, but like for my children to attend a Montessori school, I'd have to pay $12,000 to $15,000 a semester per child. So we ought to be able to put our children in public school and know that they're getting the best education they can, I feel. So like I like what you said about rearranging the classroom, perhaps. I read that we can inform classroom management and all that layout through neuroscience in some way. And our administrator friend that's doing a presentation, our New York administrator that does social emotional learning, he took all the desks out of his classroom and replaced them with yoga mats. So it's just, and I've seen like the Agora school, you shared that, I believe, Ilya. The Agora school
yeah,
is
that's
just
an
no
amazing
classroom.
school.
That's so cool. And we have the capability to do that. I watched a dollar store be built right 2 miles from my house, and there's dollar stores like a mile one way away from it and a mile in the other direction. And I was a bit disgusted, but they just see so much waste because they don't have people to work at these dollar stores. But I was also a little encouraged to see how quickly they built that dollar store, because I thought, they could build a school that quick. I know we already have schools, it just probably take redesigning. I don't know, but I think that there's definitely a way. So I don't want anyone to get discouraged and I'll be thinking about it. I'll rewatch this video several times and write down some ideas, and I hope you guys will as well. But yeah, let's hear your thoughts further if you guys would. It's just a challenge. I mean, life's full of challenges. I think we can overcome it with all our big brains on this. And also, like, our focus groups, I look forward to enlisting the help of teachers worldwide. I'm confident we'll find teachers that will volunteer, and if not, once we have some funding, perhaps we can hire some teachers to fill these folks. But I know, even retired teachers, I know we have a lot of teachers already, but that's what it's going to take, is involving like as many stakeholders as possible, and all the information and technology we have, I believe.
But I think Ilya also made a good point. We can sit here and strategize, and we can write these beautiful proposals backed by science and psychology. But when it comes to the reality, I think we need to keep this in mind, Amber, as we proceed. When it comes to the reality and implementing it in the classroom, does it really work? And that's where the scientist I sent, Amber, I read this article from a doctor of, I don't even remember her field now. Maybe it's education department. Maybe she was a part of the education department in Harvard, the lady Stephanie. But I thought,
Yes.
so what her expertise, and Amber you didn't really get into it, right, when you discussed this now, but her expertise is evaluation. So once she does implement her, she already made some changes in education at Harvard, then her job is to go to schools and measure, is it working, is it not? And I think that's the system we need in evolving in education. We can come up with wonderful ideas and maybe revise some existing philosophies and curricula, but how do we have to measure it. It's measurable outcomes that count at the end of the day. Are we making an impact on these kids? For example, you brought up the Agora School. That was an amazing article to read, but my question, and I'm kind of thinking, I'm thinking of it in terms of, does it really work? I mean, do we have measurable outcomes? Has this Agora School been in existence for 10 to 20 years, like a Montessori school, that we can actually say, yes, this works, or yes, or no, it doesn't? That's what I would like to see.
Yes, I hope to hear back from Stephanie Jones, that professor, because that would be phenomenal. Because, like you said, she's already done a lot of work into the analysis of the outcomes. Definitely, it's a crucial part. Now with the Agora, I don't know this. I would sort of just would assume that they're building off proven methods of education. I know it's a new layout, but I thought that was kind of like the experiential learning approach. All right. Well, anyone have anything further?
I wanted to ask a question. Maybe Jamal can answer this. I know, Amber, you met with Caboodle. So can you clarify? So because Jamal raised the point when I was after my talk, he was asking a question about video games, and so I'm assuming he's more familiar with video games than I am. But my question is, if you are going to gamify learning, does that mean increasing screen time in the classroom? Does that mean, I mean, it's a really cool idea he had in my presentation that he said, wow, why don't we take video games and integrate it into, because we know that video games are good for the brain for the reasons I went into last time a little bit. But is that what Caboodle does? Is it more video game based? Because my whole thinking and my whole concern here is that we are going to, as Ilya described, and I'm coming from it from all the literature I read about the neuroscience of video games and also technology in the classroom. I think we should be decreasing the technology in the classroom, not increasing it. And yes, Amber, you talked about Disney, and I love Disney, but at the end of the day, what are we doing to those brains? Right now, they are like clay. We are molding them, and the more technology you introduce, the more chances you have to mess up the programming. Because the brain, we never were raised this way, evolutionarily speaking. The more you expose kids, as it's been shown by science, their attention spans get shorter. You're starting to see ADHD. There's a whole host of pathologies that can come out of these video games and technology in the classroom.
Yes, the caboodle, from what I gathered, and I know screen time is not developmentally great in school or after, but what I gathered is that their games, their incentivized games were for after school to reinforce what they learned in school. And I agree that it's crucial to keep evolving education as holistic as possible. The Disney movies, like that was just a suggestion. My idea with the Disney movie would be to make the perhaps the teacher training through really greatly crafted movies that they could go see. And there's one other thing, I'm sorry.
Yeah, how does
Um,
Caboodle gamify learning? That was the main question. If you're going to
like I
use
said,
this
I was just
program,
in after school, it had them like essentially their homework was video games. But I know, we don't want to
yeah,
create more and more. However, and definitely not with the young ages, but I believe that that children will need to learn technology to some extent in the ever-changing world. I don't think it should overtake whatsoever, or be forced upon people, or have the ability to detrimentally affect anyone's development. But I know like AI can reduce the mental load on teachers and whatnot. But yeah, I definitely don't want to over virtualize anything. And Caboodle, I see big potential like with their teacher training, and they involve the administrators and the parents and the students. Like the teacher marks something complete and the students can give feedback, etc. So I've shared the demo to that in the group chat. And like I said, they're willing to tweak their system to work with us because they're really excited about our mission. Our objectives align. Like they don't want to sell, or they don't want to, make everyone addicted to technology. They just want to implement change. They were in one of the biggest companies in India in education, and they quit, I guess, because they said that it was all about money. It wasn't about the children's development. It wasn't about benefiting children. It was about making money, strictly money. So I think their heart's in the right place for sure. And their program might be a bit gamified, too game like for what we're going for. And I appreciate your input there because I agree it has to stay holistic. Um, and more involvement with the outdoors, nature. I don't know how to do that in public or in city schools, but I think that we will find ways, whether if the nature can't come to the kids, maybe perhaps kids could come to the nature, national parks, whatnot, outdoor field days, who knows? But
If
I
I-
agree. Go ahead, Jamal.
Sorry about that. Well, just to add on to what you're saying, I would ask us to remember what games were for us when we grew up. How do we gamify anything? There's a very sterile concept that gaming means remote controls and Atari or these video game consoles. But when we grew up, games could just be with a stick or with the imagination or with a question and answer. Gamifying doesn't necessarily, although a lot of times it does mean physically using some television or computer, but it doesn't have to gamify. As a strict concept is just making it more interactive such that the learning becomes a part of the game, right? Gamifying is strategizing beforehand whatever the lesson is and making it a little more engaging and fun, right? So it doesn't have to include screen time, although that's what I'm saying. It becomes that a lot of times, but our goal is to figure out how we can make things gamified. What would that mean? How could we encourage some mystery, perhaps, or encourage engagement in different ways? So, yeah, we don't want to um, stigmatize gaming or gamifying something to be just video games, because that's a very narrow conceptualization. Gamifying can be quite a few things.
Thank you, Jamal. That's a great point. I read that, I think Limor, you shared this with me that like playing games with children is essential. I might have seen it somewhere else, just like even peekaboo, you know. So you're on mute. You're muted. You're muted.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I've read, actually, it was a big part of the literature. I was reading it. I did a book review on the role of play for children. And the truth is that I feel that we do lots of things, at least in the UK, most of the lessons and stuff start with something that can get the children's attention. So something with mystery, and they have to solve something, so they have to write a letter to practice, because I want to see their formation getting better, and using, for example, some comas and stuff. So I will create like a mystery around. So yeah, this is something that I think is happening, and some schools are already using like immersive environments with virtual reality, which makes it a bit interesting as well. But yeah, I don't know. In my school we do have nature gardens, so they do have access to nature in their playtimes. Or even if we teach something in science and stuff, and we have to do like a checklist of bugs or test something else, so we go there for observations. But it becomes so hard when you have, again, 30 children, and you have sticks and stones and insects and stuff, and you cannot control, like, they all know the rules, but you will always have like 1, 2, 3 that will throw a stick on the head of somebody, or they will break something. Or so I see that some teachers refuse to go there, and they prefer to do that through a video in the classroom rather than getting to the nature and have to deal with these problems.
Perhaps that would be a good time for the multi-age classrooms, like the kids could learn independent, with their own age group until it's time to go outside and learn, and then the older students could help the younger students. I don't know if that would.
Yeah, definitely. It's hard though, like for children that they don't grow close to nature. They spend like the whole weekend or their evenings in front of a screen, and then you take them to a lovely natural place or a forest or something. They just behave like crazy sometimes, and you expect to see the opposite benefits, the opposite actions. But I don't blame them. They're not close to nature, so sometimes they get overexcited.
Yes, the forest school that my children attend and that I've looked into, all of them, they very much have leaders. So I don't know, like what size is too. I think they stop at 10 children, because I guess it's just too much to lead a group for 1 or 2 people to lead a group of more than 10 children, even outside. But like we have some members in our group that have forest schools, and just to watch the activities they do with the children, it's pretty, like, so let's say you just have them out there running wild, that's chaos. But let's say, go out there to weave a basket. I'm sure that wouldn't be possible with that many children in one.
No, I'm personally, I believe that it's beneficial for them in any way possible. Just even the fact that they're out there and they just breathe oxygen instead of, I don't know what they breathe inside the classroom. But I see the teachers around me that they just find it a bit too much. They would rather be inside doing the same things in an easier way. And again, I'm saying, like, all the teachers in my school, they are young, they are very up to date. They're not people that are lazy or they don't want to work and stuff. But they find the practicalities with these things a bit different.
Perhaps outsourcing to the schools hiring outdoor aides to do it, or hiring forest school, like I don't know if that's
Yeah,
possible.
if they have the money.
The inside teacher doesn't have to, or even volunteers. I don't know if that would be like the Boy Scouts of America or Girl Scouts or Outward Bound or something like that, involving other outdoor initiatives, because you perhaps wouldn't have to have the same teacher for inside as outside. Go ahead, Limor.
Ilya, how many kids are in each classroom? Just wondering.
So the maximum capacity is 30, but normally each class will have 28.
Okay, because thinking in US standards and what I see here in my state of Wisconsin, that's a lot of kids for a teacher, even if you have an 8 or 2. That's a
Yeah.
lot of kids. Here, the ratios are, it's standardized ratios and they're lower. I think
Oh,
my daughter's class of those ages, well, in kindergarten, so a year less than you, in your class was, I believe it was 20 kids
so
per
that
one teacher and
five
one
5 years
assistant.
old.
5 to 6 years old is kindergarten, and they had 20 kids in the classroom. But and I'm thinking about it, there's one main teacher like yourself, and then there's an assistant that is dedicated to that classroom. She's not a floating assistant, she's
Yeah,
always in
yeah.
that classroom. Yeah, so it's essentially 10 kids per adult, so that's a good ratio. So
Yeah, I think
maybe that's the
when they are
problem.
younger, the ratios are different. So even here, like in a classroom where the children are 5 years old, they would have less number of children. So they wouldn't have 30 with the fives. They would have like you said, 20, maximum 23, I think, with one teacher and one TA, two adults. But when the age increases, they become more independent. That's why they put more children in a classroom.
And it makes
Here we
complete,
go.
yes.
Have you guys heard of democratic education? It sounds like it's political, but it's not. It's where children sort of govern the school. They're in
No.
charge, they take ownership in their own education. If you get a chance, look it up. I'll add it to the chat. Democratic education. It's pretty incredible. They run like the cafeteria, etc. So, I mean, that would free up a lot of teachers' times and empower students. We have within our group Evolving Education. They are they're a group of educators that find, I'll share them. They find the best and most advanced teaching practices, and they share that with educators, like worldwide. I think they have like, okay, so that's Evolving Education. Democratic, can't spell. Educate, it's cool to look into because there's like democratic schools all around the world. And that's definitely something that I think would benefit students, empower students. Evolving Educators, that's a different group they have. It's also Evolving Education. I didn't find them till after we created our group and they eagerly joined. They're pretty cool. What they do, their mission is amazing. They just got back from Egypt. They travel the world and go in to, like I said, find the most cutting edge, best teaching press, education models. And I wish I had a link to share, but Evolving Education, it's really cool. They're David and Luz. They're from Mexico. So anyway, I don't know if y'all have anything else. I really, really appreciate y'all's time. And like I said, I'll watch this video a couple times, sort of meditate on it, and hopefully spit back up some of my proposed solutions. Perhaps you guys might sleep on it and come up with some epiphanies on how to make it more implementable for students. Because I think I have nothing but faith that it is possible. I understand that it is hard to implement any kind of change within these systems, but I know if there's a will, there's a way, and there's definitely a lot of will. Oh, there's definitely a way. I look forward to finding that, to collaborating with as many people as possible to find that way. And like you said, that woman, Stephanie Jones, who does the analysis or the follow-up, we've been thinking perhaps New Mexico might give us between 1 to 3 pilot schools. I mean, that's not in stone or anything, but I bet we'd find somebody to give us 1 to 3 pilot schools to try implementing into. We could track our progress. Hopefully we'll have some help with that from Harvard, you never know, and make adjustments as necessary, tweak it, adjust it, so we get it as close to perfect as we can, and then we can just make it, or along the way we'll make it repeatable, replicatable, duplicatable. So that's the goal. And I really look forward to making this happen, because something has to change. I know that. Yeah, I'm really glad to hear all the progress that you guys are making in the UK with your education system. That's wonderful. I wish, I can't wait to see it all the way across the board, level field in education. And that's sort of the goal, is to make it standard procedure to have great developmentally appropriate education. Okay, well, if anyone has anything else, I welcome you to share. And if not, I guess we'll go ahead and adjourn. If
I just wanted to add that so I got this PhD position I was telling you about, Amber. So from October, I will be using some wireless devices on secondary aged children. So as part of my project, I will be testing the stress levels of the children when the learning is taking place outdoors compared to when they're having their learning in their normal school or even in a closed space in the outdoor learning center where I will be based. So I think that I will try, because I will do a literature review before that as well. So I will try to use it in our project somehow as well.
that's wonderful. Oh, that's amazing. Thank you, Lilia. Lilia,
And
that's
it's a newly developed device by my supervisor, so it hasn't been used, in big groups and stuff. And it has 3 parts, so it measures the heart rate, the galvanic skin's response, and it can retrieve some brain data as well. So yeah, I think it will be interesting.
definitely. Well, my kids were in forest school last year, and one day it was -2 degrees outside, and they had to have it in a church. And I tell you, I could see on the faces of the teachers that it was much less stressful outside than it was that one day inside. They looked like they're, so I imagine the same on children. I've taken my kids out to play in the woods. We call it nature's playground. We have this spot up there with these down trees, and I mean, they have the the confidence that they exhibit out there playing, like balancing on these down trees, say, I can do it, I can do, I can, like, it's just
But then,
amazing.
what happens? They go to school and the teachers start complaining that, oh, these children, they just want to play. They don't know how to write, they don't know how to read, because of course they were going to a forest school when they were younger. That's all I'm listening now at the moment. Because we have in my school a couple of children that attended forest school kindergartens and Montessori ones. So they haven't really practiced, like they do some like scribing and stuff, but they don't force them, to sit down and learn the alphabet and everything. So they come to school and they're like, oh yeah, they're coming from forest school. They are very confident, but all they want is to play. They don't know how to read, they don't know how to write.
Yes,
But they pick everything up. I don't know why everybody's so concerned about reading and writing when they are 4 and 5.
yeah, I heard
But
developmental.
it's part of the curriculum, so what can they do?
Yeah, I heard developmentally that's not the best for children, though.
Yeah,
And
no, it's not. Their hands are so weak.
I know, have you seen the pictures, the x-rays of the hand of a
Yeah.
5-year-old?
I mean, the girls always manage somehow to form letters and numbers and lines and drawings earlier than the boys, most of the times. But they all struggle. Their hands are very weak. And we do lots of like fine motor, like workshops, and with parties, or we have a climbing frame for them to. But I feel that it should come a bit more naturally. Like it will happen anyway. Why should we force it and do all this effort?
You know, Ilya, you just reminded me. I read somewhere, and Ember, I'm happy to share it with you. I'm a part of a Montessori group. I'm one of the administrators on a Montessori group online. And I read one of the Montessori teachers was so frustrated with, she was a head teacher. She was teaching for many years in Montessori. She was so frustrated with the parents. The parents of these kids are coming up to her saying, well, it's great that you're teaching my kid Montessori, but do they know their addition and subtraction? Can they read yet? I mean, the parents are pushing, right? Academics. And this teacher is saying, but wait, they're learning it through the Montessori way. And no one understands it. So this teacher went on to create something very cool. I haven't looked into it, but I read her comment about it. She calls it deschooling, the deschooling movement. Now, I am not 100% on board, because from my perspective, I think kids need the Montessori, which and the forest philosophies, which you just described very well, Ilya and Ember. They need that, but they also need they also need the official learning. I think it's an integration of both if you want to maximize the benefits for the development. But I thought it was really neat. And Amber, like I said, I can send it to you. But the deschooling movement, she's now stepped out as a Montessori teacher, and all she does is go around the community and she talks to parents and says, hey, don't rush development. It will happen. Don't rush academics. It will happen. Let's just focus on giving the kids curiosity, those life skills that they can use all throughout.
I would like to see that as well, if that's okay.
Oh, you want that? Okay, I'll write a note.
That reminds me a bit of unschooling. Have y'all heard of unschooling? Seems about like the same, like just experiential learning. It's like homeschooling, except they don't use a curriculum. They just take the kids on trips and stuff and let them experience life.
But what I'm saying is, it's not that they don't need the academic part. You don't have to force it. You know, it can happen when it's developmentally appropriate.
Yes. Definitely. Is that like 7 years old, would you say, to be?
My class is 7, but they start reading and writing when they are like 4. So with 5, they are expected to know, you know, their phonics, the basic phonics, the alphabet.
But in Montessori, they take it one child at a time. So let's say a certain child comes in and they are ready to learn because let's say at home, the parents read to them every night and they already have the foundation. So they will gravitate towards the writing and reading corner. Whereas another child who, let's say, was raised in a different philosophy at home will gravitate towards something else. And the Montessori kind of bridges everything together. So you never force the child, you just go based on their curiosity. It's child-led.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
How they do it. Yeah.
Very great. Okay, well, thank you guys all very, very much. Like I said, I can't thank you enough. And if anyone like to add anything, and if not, we will adjourn. I appreciate you guys joining on Father's Day. That was, I hate to interrupt your holiday, but like I said, I deeply appreciate you all. And also I will talk to Terry Garrison. She's the head of the she's on the department with the education at a local university, early childhood education. I'll bring up the implementation challenges with her and see if she has any input on that you brought up, Ilya. Okay, team.
Nice to see you all. Thank you, Amber.
Thank you, Ilya. Thank you, Limor. Thank you,
Thanks,
Jamal.
everyone.
You're welcome.
You
Bye,
guys are
guys. Thank
Bye.
you, everyone.
Have a wonderful evening. Thanks again.